Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Sofia Shakira binti Abdul Hafiz. I'm from DKM 3A and my matrix number is 23DKM19F 2022.
Hi, my name is Kevin Raj. My matric number is 23 DKM 19F 2006 and I'm from class DKM 3A.
So, this is a Foundry presentation. Introduction. A foundry is a factory which produces metal casting from either ferrous or non-ferrous alloy. Metals are turned into parts by melting the metal into a liquid, pouring the metal in a mold, and then removing mold material or casting. Foundries produce steel casting by melting scrap, alloying, molding, and finishing. Objective. Objective of foundry is a factory that produces metal casting. Metals are cast into shape by melting them into a liquid, pouring the metal into a mold, and removing the mold material after metal has solidified as its goal. In this process, part of desired shapes and size can be formed. Safety precaution. First, workers need proper work techniques, adequate ventilation, and personal protective equipment (PPE) to stay safe. Number 2, PPE protects you from the foundry environment. Number 3, wear leather shoes, gloves, and safety glasses with a side shield. Number 4, a hat with a brim protects you from spatters.
Today I'm going to talk about the working process of foundry. The sand should withstand its own shape during modeling. It should be swept accordingly. All forging material is removed. The drag, the bottom half of the casting flask, must be erected at the lower part of moldland. A flat half of the pattern placed down on it. The sand should be sieved over the pattern to a depth of at least 30 mm and should then be rammed rigidity. After satisfactorily achieving required rigidity, the drag must be leveled off. Turn over the drag and fix the cope flask at the upper side of the drag flask. The other pattern halves should be assembled and lightly dust once again. Insert the screw pins and the assembly of the cavity was already created for the metal to run into. Repeat the sieving process until achieving satisfactory rigidity. Separate the cope and the drag by removing the screw pins using an oval and stick spoon. Fabricate the pouring basin or cup. Down screw and assemble it to cavity with proper runner channel. Cup side. The mold box is ready for molten metal pouring purpose. Melt the metal accordingly using relevant furnace prepared during the metalling. It to decasing can be achieved by using slack catcher, fusing or decasing, ensuring smooth surfaces of molten metal permitted to enter the pouring basin. Tap the molten metal when the metal is ready. Using hand shackle, pour the molten metal into the pouring basin. Pour the molten metal until it is filled the entire laminated cavity. Give appropriate time for the molten metal to solidify inside the cavity. The solidified cavity from the mold is removed after the temperature drop to a property handling condition. Finally, the cast will need to be fed with which involves cutting of the runners and rises and any flashes.
Discussion. Based on our observation on our product, the product follows the shape of the workpiece that has been done in the pattern making. However, the surface that we obtain are not smooth and has holes on the surface. Number 2, since the product is not perfect enough, there are some errors that might be considered in this workshop activity. Number 3, there are some processes which are very important in this workshop activity. Ramming process is which we compact the sand in order to avoid any holes or gap between the sand mold and our pattern. Number 4, the aluminium has been widely used in casting because it solidified rapidly faster. Number 5, for every steps taken during the workshop technology class, precaution steps should be put as our first main concern. There are few precaution steps the student should take as listed below. Number 1, put on mask all the time in order to prevent from inhaling the sand. Number 2, rings and jewelry must not be worn in the workshop. Number 3, do not spill molten on the floor because it's very hot and worry if anyone accidentally touch it. Number 4, put your distance from the furnace to prevent thermal contact. The conclusion, Foundry process is one of the sand casting process. We can use various metals such as aluminium and cast iron in this process. Our group chose to use aluminium as metal to be melted and shaped in Foundry process. We can shape metal by melting them into a liquid, pouring the molten metal into a mold what we had provided. As it cools, we remove the mold material after the metal has solidified. Our group used polystyrene to create the mold, so our shaped metal has some defects such as surface of the metal is rough and not smooth.